Hi, I'm Heather Sugg, reporting for FinTech Futures. We're at Money20 USA and interviewing with Incedo today. So we're going to talk about the three hot topics, really, of the show: digital, data, and AI. So welcome. How are you doing?
Hello, Heather. Very nice to be talking to you.
Likewise, and thank you for joining us. Would you like to just start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and Incedo and what you're doing?
Sure. I'm Nitin. I'm the CEO and founder of Incedo. I'm based out of New Jersey. What is Incedo? Incedo, we see ourselves as a digital transformation specialist, work at the intersection of business and technology. We are in the digital age. Digital is transforming everything, all of our lives, all business. And we are focused on helping our clients realize the best of digital to win in the digital age, which, by the way, is the title of my book, which you're holding.
Winning in the digital age. All right, so tell me about it. Starting off with digital, we'll go there first. What do banks need to do to make sure that they are making the most of their digital investments? They're pouring more and more into their IT infrastructure, but how do they make sure that that's going to resonate and stay for the long run?
That's a really great question, Heather, that banks are spending billions of dollars on digital. JP Morgan alone is probably spending more on technology than all the fintech sector combined. But there is another part of the equation that they're not realizing full value from those investments. The data suggests that more than 70% of digital initiatives do not meet their initial return goals. So that's a pretty stark number. And why is that happening? Let's first talk about that. And I would submit that the nature of the digital age is very different. I call it, we are in the VUCA world: volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, the VUCA world. Now, if the underlying nature of the world we are in is very different, it kind of figures that the rules of business, your method, your approach needs to be very different. For example, banks have historically been very risk averse. It has been right first time for them. Now we are in a world which is anything but right first time. We are in a world which is very dynamic, which is changing very rapidly. So this is about fail fast. This is about rapid experimentation. And right first time does not work. So that's just kind of one of the big thematic changes that I want to highlight. But look, banks have no choice. They're a little behind the curve, and it's not just digital. It's kind of, you opened it as, I call it the trifecta: digital plus data plus AI, and they have no option but to really, leverage this kind of holy trinity for success.
So asking banks to leverage data for success, let's make that our next point. We know banks have superfluous amounts of data. It's just making sure that it's clean and that it's in order and that we're doing something with what once was data lakes, now bygones. How do banks begin to make the most of their data, and what are you seeing?
Yeah. See, data, the explosion of data is both a great opportunity but also a huge challenge. I call it the data paradox. It's like water everywhere, not a drop to drink. At one end you have the data deluge, or at another end, you have the insight drought. And I think a big problem the banks are facing is that given they have a lot of legacy infrastructure and their data has historically been very fragmented and siloed, they find it very difficult to bring it together. And it ends up being like this massive technology project to kind of put your arms around all of data to create this customer 360 view, which is kind of a bit of it's like, the Holy Ghost, is the Holy Grail. You're kind of chasing something which is not there. Now, the way for banks to achieve success is to be a lot more deliberate about your customer and business objectives. If you try to get your arms around all of this, you will never finish. So be a lot more focused and deliberate. Here are specific customer pain points and business objectives that we have. And then, what data do we need and how do we go about collecting and bringing all of that data together. So it's almost like in this world of big data, paradoxically, you have to go small and narrow to kind of realize the full benefit opportunity of big data.
So they need to almost find a niche and start there and make a step and make progress and start somewhere. Are there examples of where you've seen this happen with some of your clients?
Yeah, and I would not necessarily say niche, but like specific problem statements, as opposed to generalizing it, specific problem statements. Now, in terms of impact areas, there are 4 impact areas, that I see, banks, really kind of trying to pursue. The first is around personalization. That, how do you identify your the needs of your customers a lot more deeply, so you are able to, for example, cross-sell and upsell. Yeah, that's a big need for banks. There is very limited new customers, top line growth. So how do you grow? You grow by doing a lot more cross-sell and upsell. And data can be very essential, actually data plus AI. The second area is about automation. Yeah, how do you really cut down the many inefficiencies that exist in the banking process today? Number 3 is around risk management. As data has grown, in the AI age, the number of risks that a bank is facing, the customer is facing, have exploded. So how do you use data for better risk management? And the fourth is data-driven decision making. It's fascinating that we are talking about financial services, we are talking about money, but so much decision making in banks is still not based on economics. A lot of the focus at Money 2020 is about payments. It's fascinating. Not always anchored around economics, and data can help bring transparency.
That helps a lot. Let's move into your third tier here as we talk about AI, and specifically generative AI. Where do you see the use cases coming for that first?
See, we are still, I would say, look, Gen AI is huge. Gen AI is not business as usual. Gen AI is not a normal hype cycle. Yeah. But we are still, figuring it out.
Yeah.
We're still figuring it out. Now, look, I think it also, we need to understand that generative AI is probably not something you use on a standalone basis. You use in conjunction with traditional AI and many other technologies. Now, what does generative AI really do and what it doesn't do? Generative AI is really bringing all the data of the world together. Yeah. What it is very helpful for is to give you an 80% answer. Yeah, an 80% answer, whether it is on personalization, whether it is on new customer offerings, whether it is on efficiency opportunities, but it's an 80% answer. On top of that, you do need to layer in enterprise data and a more traditional AI model. Once you combine generative AI and the traditional AI, which is the more enterprise-specific data and models, that is where magic will start to happen.
That is interesting. All right. So are there hard examples that you have of what you've seen bankers do in this case?
See, there are a lot of things, it's at both ends. So at one end, bankers are experimenting with AI to customize offerings, for their clients. For example, advice. Yeah, how do you give more personalized advice to a customer based on kind of a more dynamic assessment of their situation? We're just talking to one of our clients, which is one of the largest banks in the country, which is now using, and we are helping them do that, use generative AI and AI to get a much better understanding of their client's cash position. Yeah, and based on that, give them more dynamic recommendations. Yeah, so there are a lot of things that banks are doing which is more client facing, but equally there's a huge opportunity which is internal. For example, we are doing a lot of work on the software development lifecycle, and specifically around testing and quality assurance. We have seen 40 to 50% productivity improvement. 40 to 50% productivity improvement. Those are massive numbers. Yeah. So I think it's still early days, but both on the customer side and internally, how banks kind of run their operations and technology, there are immense set of opportunities. I think over the next 6 to 9 months, you will see a lot of this kind of becoming a lot more tangible.
It will be an exciting 6 to 8 months. It'll be an exciting new year in 2024. Another thing that I hear coming down the pipeline in 2024 is your next book. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, my first book was Winning in the Digital Age, and I realized that the main kind of winning or losing factor was data. So my next book is on data. It's called Mastering the Data Paradox, and I spoke a little bit about it, that hey, data is the biggest explosion of our generation. So just to put this in context, 80 to 90% of the entire data of the world has got generated over only the last 2 years. That's staggering. If you just, 10,000 years of recorded human history, 80-90% of data has really happened over the last 2 years. So this is a massive thing, and and data is such an important part of this trifecta of digital, data, and AI. There will be no AI age without data. Yeah, because AI is completely dependent on data, and so that's what the book focuses on. That mastering the data paradox, key to winning in the AI age.
And what are some specifics? Where would you like to see banks make big strides in 2024?
I think the banks have been very, very limited by the regulatory constraints. As a result, they have been very, very risk averse. Yeah. So I would really like them to challenge that and kind of work a lot more closely with the regulators and kind of, how do they drive innovation? Because if they don't drive innovation at scale, at some point, this industry will face a moment of reckoning. This is a huge industry which still makes, a lot of profits, and a lot of that is because of regulatory protection. At some point, the disintermediation that technology is causing will be too overwhelming. So the banks have to innovate a lot more, and at least both here at Money20, and I was at Cybos in Toronto a couple of weeks back, I see the regulators a lot more open now in terms of a dialogue, in terms of partnership, and that would be my key thing for the banks. That how do you, instead of thinking about big bang, which may never happen, how do you start to drive more deliberate innovation?
And what is your advice for a bank that wants to be more deliberate in their innovation, but might still be on some legacy older systems?
I think in this case, aiming for perfect can be the enemy of good. Yeah, it is a reality that banks are on legacy systems. They have been trying to move away from their underlying COBOL system for 20, 30 years. It has not happened. It is not going to happen overnight. Yeah. So instead of trying to aim for this mythical kind of best practice, we have got all of our data together. We've got a perfect customer 360 view. We kind of, have these massive technology projects which are multiple year and hundreds of millions of dollars, costing that much. Go for small is beautiful. Yeah. We spoke about it earlier. Be a lot more deliberate about what problems, you're looking to solve. What is the business impact? Put that before investment. Today, it is very technology investment driven. It is, I would say, very FOMO driven, fear of missing out. Yeah, big is beautiful. No, big is not beautiful in the digital age. Go for small, go for deliberate, go for specific pain points. So I think that is what I think banks need to do, and I think it's a big change in mindset for them because they're very, very wedded to the biggest beautiful mindset.
Yes, but starting to take steps are good steps, and then just make the movement happen and make that next step for data and AI.
Don't just keep talking about it.
There you have
because
it.
we have been many cases discussing the same thing for a number of years, and like there's such a big perfect solution which you never get around to doing. Specific problems, experiment, fail fast, and move on.
Perfection is the enemy of progress.
Exactly.
There you have it. We'll take steps and move forward and have a brand new and enlightening year in 2024. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I think it's just fascinating. I think we are really at fascinating, point in history, I would say. And I think this combination of digital data and AI, I think this is bigger than what any one of us know at this point. So I would just encourage this, spirit of humility, spirit of continuous learning and experimentation. We don't know. We don't know how this is going to pan out. But I think what is important is that a learning orientation and collaboration, sharing, because no one person or no one company can really figure it out themselves.
Absolutely. Well, this has been great. I thank you for the conversation and the time, and I look forward to seeing book number 2 come out and a good year ahead. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you.